Welcome to History Uncovered, where the past comes alive. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let's dive into history together. Immigrants from Europe arrive in the United States, often taking low-paying jobs. The economic boom benefits only a small segment of the population. The elite, owners of steel mills, railroads, oil refineries, and banks, grow immensely wealthy, while workers and farmers, including women and children, labor under harsh conditions. Strikes and protests begin, demanding better working environments. But they are often met with force, deployed by private security firms or the National Guard. As European nations expand their global empires through colonization, the United States also begins projecting its power on the international stage. After annexing Hawaii in the Pacific, American attention turns to Cuba, where an anti-Spanish uprising unfolds. The U.S. supports Cuban independence fighters. Following the mysterious explosion of a U.S. Navy ship in Havana's harbor, war erupts between the United States and Spain. The U.S. emerges victorious, securing Cuba's independence and claiming Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines. America becomes a colonial power. In Colombia, a French company begins constructing a canal to link the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, dramatically shortening the trade route between America's coasts. The United States purchases the project and intervenes militarily to support Panama's bid for independence. In return, Panama's government offers the U.S. a narrow strip of land, allowing completion of the canal, which opens in 1914. In Europe, World War I begins. With workers and farmers conscripted into military service, industrial output declines. American industry seizes the opportunity. Though officially neutral, the U.S. supplies the Entente powers with ammunition, food, clothing, and vehicles, all on credit. In response, Germany launches a naval blockade, sinking merchant ships in British waters. In 1917, a German telegram is intercepted, offering Mexico a military alliance against the United States. This prompts America to enter the war on the side of the Entente. 2 million American troops are deployed to European fronts. 116,000 perish in the conflict. After the war, Europe is heavily indebted to the United States. American industry thrives. Advances in assembly line production dramatically increase output and lower costs. Rising consumer demand and widespread access to credit spark a boom in car sales, household appliances, and bank stocks. Hollywood rises as a global entertainment powerhouse. The spread of radio popularizes new musical genres, most notably jazz. In New York, the emergence of nightclubs fuels alcohol sales. Attempting to rein in the trend, the conservative government votes for prohibition, banning the manufacture, transportation, and sale of alcohol. In response, thousands of speakeasies spring up across the country. The mafia seizes control of this black market and quickly grows rich. Meanwhile, the South is left behind by the prosperity. Falling agricultural prices plunge the region into poverty. The Ku Klux Klan rises again, this time not only targeting African Americans but also Catholics, Jews, and immigrants. Its membership reaches 5 million before a series of lynchings leads to the group being outlawed. In 1929, Wall Street collapses. The U.S. economy spirals downward. Within just a few years, waves of company and bank failures leave a quarter of the country's workforce unemployed. Prohibition is repealed, and steps are taken to revive the economy and improve labor conditions. World War II begins in Europe. Though officially neutral, the United States prepares for conflict by reinstating conscription. Meanwhile, it sells weapons, mostly to the United Kingdom and the Soviet Union. In the Pacific, to limit Japanese imperial expansion, Japan now aligned with Nazi Germany, the United States imposes an embargo on steel and oil shipments. Japan retaliates with a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, prompting America to enter the war. The U.S. secretly launches research aimed at developing an atomic bomb. By 1945, the Allies claim victory over Germany. The Soviet Union and the United States join forces against Japan. A Soviet ground operation in Manchuria, combined with atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, compels Japan to surrender. At the end of the war, the United States supports the creation of the United Nations, whose key mission is maintaining global peace and security. Europe, exhausted and devastated, faces ruin. The United States and the Soviet Union emerge as the world's two superpowers. Following World War II, both nations strive to expand their influence across Europe. The United States initiates the Marshall Plan, while the Soviet Union backs pro-communist governments in Eastern European states. Part of the world finds itself divided by the Iron Curtain. The USSR and the United States enter the Cold War, an arms race fueled by ideology but without direct conflict. Having avoided the destruction of war on its own soil, America holds a significant advantage in industry, economy, and military strength. Within the U.S., federal employees suspected of communist sympathies are forced to resign. In Hollywood, anti-communist propaganda becomes mass-produced. Internationally, the United States embraces a policy of intervention, determined to halt the spread of communism at any cost. America intervenes in Greece and China, and later sends troops to Korea and Vietnam. In response, the Soviet Union seeks to catch up. After developing its own nuclear weapons, it becomes the first nation to launch an artificial satellite into orbit, and then exceeds its own achievement by sending the first human into space. The U.S. responds with the Apollo program, aiming to land a man on the moon. In Cuba, America's attempt to overthrow the new communist government fails. The USSR capitalizes on the situation, forging an alliance with Cuba and deploying nuclear missiles on the island aimed directly at the U.S. Tensions soar to a breaking point, with global war seeming imminent. But diplomacy prevails, and a compromise is reached. The USSR agrees to remove its missiles from Cuba. Meanwhile, domestic movements for civil rights gain momentum in America, pressuring the government to reconsider its social policies. African Americans organize nonviolent protests against segregation. Women increasingly join the workforce, demanding equal pay. Native Americans also campaign for better treatment and recognition. During the Vietnam War, student and hippie-led pacifist movements call for peace. In 1969, the United States sends the first human to the moon. Millions around the globe watch the event live on television. On the global stage, America takes steps to reduce tensions. It begins a diplomatic rapprochement with China and signs agreements with the USSR to limit the arms race. In the Middle East, the U.S. supports Israel during the Yom Kippur War, prompting OPEC nations to impose an oil embargo in response. Eventually, the U.S. withdraws its troops from Vietnam. 2 years later, communist forces claim victory, damaging America's reputation. The USSR uses this moment to 3.